Good day, dear cat lovers. Today we'll talk about a situation that almost every owner of a fluffy pet has faced. Imagine, you're petting your cat, it's purring, seems absolutely content, and suddenly a sharp mood change. A bite, a scratch, and your pet is already running away, leaving you puzzled. Why does a cat bite when being petted? Let's figure out this mysterious behavior of our domestic favorites. In today's episode, we'll look at the main reasons for such behavior, learn to recognize warning signals that a cat gives before biting, and of course, find out how to properly interact with your pet to avoid unpleasant situations. Ready to dive into the fascinating world of cat psychology? Then let's begin. First, let's take a small historical excursion. Did you know that the domestication of cats began approximately 10,000 years ago? Unlike dogs, which went through directed selection to develop certain character traits, cats have largely retained their wild instincts. This is important to understand because many behavioral characteristics of our domestic pets are directly linked to their wild ancestors. Interesting fact, wild cats have almost no social interactions, similar to petting. In nature, adult individuals rarely touch each other, except during mating periods or when a mother cares for kittens. It turns out that when we pet a cat, we involve it in an interaction that's quite unnatural for it. It's amazing that most domestic cats have still learned to enjoy human affection. But why do our caresses sometimes provoke aggression? Let's look at the main reasons. The first and perhaps most common reason is petting-induced aggression syndrome, or as it's also called, overstimulation syndrome. The essence is that cats have a certain threshold of sensitivity to tactile sensations. When this threshold is exceeded, pleasant sensations can suddenly turn into irritating or even painful ones. Imagine being lightly tickled. At first it might be pleasant, but if it continues too long, the sensations become unpleasant and even unbearable. Approximately the same thing happens with a cat during prolonged petting. The nerve endings in the cat's skin become overexcited, and the pet reacts with defensive aggression. Research shows that this threshold is individual for each cat. For some pets, it comes after 2 to 3 minutes of petting, while for others, it might take 15 minutes before they feel discomfort. Interestingly, cats with thinner and more sensitive skin usually have a lower threshold. The second reason is related to territory on the cat's body. Yes, cats have a kind of body map with zones they consider more or less private. Most cats gladly allow petting on the head, cheeks, behind the ears, and in the chin area. These zones are associated with social grooming that cats practice among themselves. But the belly, paws, and base of the tail are usually forbidden territories. When a cat lies on its back and shows its belly, this isn't always an invitation to pet this area. Often it's a sign of ultimate trust, a demonstration of a vulnerable body part. And when you violate this trust by trying to pet the belly, the cat may react with defensive aggression. An interesting experiment was conducted by scientists from Great Britain. They observed cats' reactions to petting different body parts and compiled a kind of pleasure map. It turned out that 80% of cats react negatively to touches on the back part of the body and paws, while the area between the ears and cheeks evoked positive reactions in 95% of the subjects. The third reason is a state of excitement or overexcitement. Cats are very emotional creatures, and sometimes they simply cannot cope with overwhelming feelings. Imagine you're petting a cat. It's purring, rolling from side to side, its pupils dilate. And suddenly, a bite! This is a classic example of overexcitement. In such moments, the cat experiences too many emotions simultaneously. Pleasure from petting, playfulness, possibly even elements of hunting behavior. Its nervous system becomes overloaded, and the bite becomes a way to release this tension. This is similar to how a person might nervously laugh in a moment of severe stress, an inadequate but natural reaction of the organism. The fourth reason might surprise many owners, it's pain or discomfort. Cats masterfully hide their painful sensations. This is an evolutionary survival strategy. In the wild, showing weakness can attract predators, so cats have learned to mask pain. If your cat has suddenly started biting when petted in certain places, this might be a signal of health problems. Arthritis, dental pain, skin diseases, internal inflammations, all these can manifest through aggression when touching a painful area. Veterinary research shows that about 30% of cases of sudden aggression in previously calm cats are related to unidentified medical problems. Therefore, if your pet's character has changed dramatically, be sure to consult a veterinarian. The fifth reason is fear and defensive reaction. Cats can associate certain touches with negative experiences from the past. For example, if a cat was once roughly grabbed by the belly or caused pain while petting a certain part of the body, it may remember this and in the future react with aggression even to gentle touches to this area. This behavior is especially common in cats from shelters or from the street, who may have had negative experiences with people. Their nervous system is in constant tension, and even the gentlest touches can be perceived as a threat. Researchers from the University of Lincoln made an interesting observation. Cats that have experienced traumatic experiences often demonstrate so-called dual behavior. They may themselves ask for affection and then suddenly attack the owner's hand. This happens due to an internal conflict between the desire to receive positive emotions from contact with a human and fear based on past experience. The sixth reason is related to communication. Cats communicate with us, but they do it in their own language, which we don't always correctly understand. Before biting, a cat usually gives several warning signals: tail twitching, flattened ears, body tension, dilated pupils, cessation of purring. If we ignore these signals and continue petting, the cat may resort to a more obvious way of communication: a bite. It's as if you politely ask someone several times to stop doing something unpleasant, and when your requests are ignored, you're forced to raise your voice. A cat cannot say enough, so it uses the communication means available to it. Interesting fact: studies show that most owners notice only 2 or 3 out of 10 warning signals that a cat gives before biting. We are so engrossed in the process of petting that we simply don't pay attention to subtle changes in the pet's behavior. The seventh reason is play behavior. This is especially common in young cats and kittens. For them, a bite can be part of play, a way of interaction. Cat games often include elements of hunting, fighting, and light bites are a normal part of such behavior. The problem is that cats don't always understand the difference between playing with fellow cats and interacting with a human. Their skin is much thicker than ours, and a bite that would be just a playful gesture for another cat can be quite painful for a human hand. Studies of cat behavior show that kittens who were weaned early from their mother and didn't go through a full cycle of socialization with fellow cats more often show aggressive play behavior towards humans. They simply haven't learned to control the force of their bite in games. The eighth reason might seem unexpected. It's a way of attracting attention or manipulation. Yes, some cats very quickly understand that a bite is an effective way to get the desired reaction from a human. If every time a cat bites you, you jump up, start paying attention to it, or even worse, give it a treat to appease it, you unintentionally reinforce this behavior model. Cats are intelligent creatures and quickly establish cause and effect relationships. I bit, the owner gave me a treat, or I bit, the owner stopped touching me. Such simple algorithms are easily remembered and reproduced again and again. The ninth reason is related to hormonal background and sexual behavior. Non-neutered cats, especially during periods of sexual activity, may show increased aggression, including during caresses. Hormonal surges make the animal more excitable and less tolerant to touches. Interestingly, cats have a phenomenon called induced ovulation. Ovulation occurs only after mating. At the same time, the mating process itself in felines is quite aggressive. The male bites the female on the scruff. Some veterinarians believe that bites during petting in non-neutered cats may be related to this natural mechanism. Skin stimulation causes a hormonal response that confuses the animal. The 10th reason is stress and anxiety. Cats are very sensitive to changes in their environment. Moving, renovations, the appearance of a new family member or animal, loud noises, all this can cause a state of chronic stress in a cat. In such a state, the sensitivity threshold decreases and even familiar caresses can be perceived as a threat. Studies show that in cats in a state of stress, the level of cortisol, the stress hormone, can remain elevated for up to 2 weeks after a stressful event. All this time, the cat is in a state of increased readiness for defense, and its reactions can be unpredictable. Now that we've examined the main reasons, let's talk about how to recognize the warning signals that a cat gives before biting. This will help you stop petting in time and avoid unpleasant consequences. The first and most obvious signal is a change in ear position. When a cat is relaxed and enjoying caresses, its ears are directed forward or slightly to the sides. If the ears begin to press against the head or turn backward, this is a clear sign of discomfort or irritation. The second signal is tail movements. A calm, content cat keeps its tail relaxed or slightly twitches only the tip. If the tail begins to actively move from side to side, hit the surface, or sharply twitch, this is a sign of growing irritation. An especially dangerous signal is a puffed up tail. This is a sign of strong excitement or fear. The third signal is a change in body position. A relaxed cat has a soft, smooth body line. If you notice that your pet's muscles tense, the back arches, the body becomes rigid. This is a sign that the cat's preparing for defense or attack. The fourth signal is the expression of the eyes and pupil size. A calm, content cat usually has narrow or medium-sized pupils, depending on the lighting. If the pupils suddenly dilate, this can mean fear, excitement, or aggression. Also pay attention to a direct, unwavering gaze. This often precedes an attack. The fifth signal is vocalization. Many cats make special sounds before biting, low growling, hissing, or they stop purring. However, some cats may continue to purr even in a state of stress. This is a protective mechanism of self-calming. The sixth signal is a change in breathing. If you notice that the cat's breathing has become more frequent, shallow, or conversely, it has begun to hold its breath, this is a sign of a change in emotional state. The seventh signal is licking. Often before a bite, a cat begins to lick the owner's hand. Many perceive this as an expression of love, but in reality it can be a warning. In nature, cats often lick their prey before biting. This helps them better determine the place for attack. The eighth signal is paw movements. If during petting, the cat begins to grasp your hand with its paws, especially the hind ones, prepare for a possible bite. This is a classic pose for attack, where the cat uses the front paws to hold the prey and the hind ones to strike. The ninth signal is freezing. Sometimes before an attack, a cat may momentarily freeze, as if assessing the situation. This is a very short pause before action, and if you notice such behavior, it's better to immediately stop petting. The 10th signal is turning the head toward your hand. If a cat during petting suddenly turns its head and fixes its gaze on your hand, this is an almost guaranteed sign of an approaching bite. Now that we know how to recognize warning signals, let's talk about how to properly pet a cat to minimize the risk of a bite. The first and most important rule is to always let the cat initiate contact. Don't impose your affection if the pet doesn't show interest in it. Most cats make it clear when they are ready for petting. They approach you, rub against your legs or hands, purr, raise their tail like a tube. Research shows that cats that are allowed to initiate contact themselves are on average 40% less likely to show aggression during petting. This is because they feel control over the situation and experience less stress. The second rule is to respect the cat's personal space. Each cat has its own preferences regarding how long, where, and how it can be petted. Observe your pet's reaction and learn to read its body language. If the cat begins to show signs of discomfort, immediately stop petting. Remember that cats are territorial animals and they value the ability to control their space. When you persistently pet a cat, ignoring its signals, you violate its territorial boundaries, which causes stress and a defensive reaction. The third rule is to choose the right zones for petting. As we've already mentioned, most cats prefer to be petted on the head, cheeks, behind the ears, and under the chin. These areas are associated with scent glands, and petting here helps the cat spread its scent, creating a sense of security and comfort. Avoid petting the belly, paws, and base of the tail, unless your cat itself shows that it likes it. Some cats do indeed enjoy belly rubs, but they are in the minority. The fourth rule is to monitor the duration of petting. As we've already discussed, each cat has its own sensitivity threshold. Start with short petting sessions, 15 to 20 seconds, then take a break. If the cat asks for continuation, resume the caress. Gradually, you'll understand what duration is comfortable for your pet. Interesting observation, researchers have noticed that cats tolerate intermittent petting with pauses better than continuous petting. This is because the nerve endings in the skin get a chance to rest and don't become overexcited. The fifth rule is to pay attention to the pressure. Cat's skin is very sensitive, with many nerve endings. Too much pressure can cause discomfort or even pain. Start with light, superficial strokes, and only if the cat clearly enjoys the process, you can slightly increase the pressure. The sixth rule is to consider the mood and state of the cat. Don't disturb your pet if it's sleeping, eating, washing itself, or clearly not in the mood for communication. Cats, like people, may not be disposed to social contacts at certain moments, and this is normal. This rule is especially important for elderly cats or animals with chronic diseases. They may have a lowered threshold of sensitivity to discomfort, and even familiar caresses can cause unpleasant sensations. The seventh rule is to teach children the proper way to handle a cat. Children often become victims of cat bites because they don't understand the boundaries and signals of the animal. Explain to the child that a cat is not a toy, but a living being with its own needs and boundaries. Teach them to recognize signs of discomfort in the cat and respect its desire to end contact. The eighth rule is not to punish the cat for bites. This will only exacerbate the problem, creating negative associations with petting and human hands in general for the pet. Instead of punishment, simply end contact if the cat shows signs of aggression. Research shows that cats don't understand the concept of punishment as we understand it. They don't connect punishment with their previous action, but perceive it as unmotivated aggression from a human. This only intensifies their fear and distrust, which can lead to even more aggressive behavior in the future. The ninth rule is to enrich the cat's environment. Often aggression during petting can be a consequence of general dissatisfaction and boredom. Make sure your cat has enough toys, places for climbing, scratching, and observing the surrounding world. Regularly play with your pet, using interactive toys that mimic prey. Research shows that cats living in an enriched environment, with the opportunity to realize all their natural instincts, are 30% less likely to show problematic behavior, including aggression during petting. The 10th rule is to consult with a veterinarian. If the problem with bites arose suddenly or is getting worse despite all your efforts, be sure to show the cat to a specialist. As we've already mentioned, aggression can be a sign of pain or disease, and only a veterinarian can rule out medical causes of such behavior. In addition, there are special behavioral therapists for animals who can help in cases of complex behavioral problems. They develop individual behavior modification programs that take into account the characteristics of the specific animal and situation. Now, let's look at several interesting cases from practice and discuss how the problem with bites could be solved in each specific situation. Case 1. The cat bites only when a certain family member pets it. This is a fairly common situation, and it's usually related to the fact that different people pet the cat differently. Perhaps this person pets the pet too intensively, touches sensitive zones, or doesn't notice warning signals. The solution is to observe the interaction and correct the petting technique. Case 2. The cat itself asks for affection, but after a minute starts biting. This is a classic example of overstimulation syndrome. The solution is to reduce the duration of petting and take regular breaks. You can set a timer for 30 seconds and stop petting before this time expires, gradually increasing the duration if the cat doesn't show signs of discomfort. Case 3. An elderly cat that used to love caresses suddenly started biting when certain parts of its body are petted. This can be a sign of age-related diseases, such as arthritis or degenerative changes in the joints. The solution is a visit to the veterinarian for diagnosis and treatment of possible health problems. Case 4. A kitten that during caresses begins to actively play and bite hands. This is normal play behavior for young cats, but it needs to be corrected so that it doesn't become fixed in adulthood. The solution is to stop petting at the first signs of play excitement and offer the kitten a suitable toy for releasing energy. Case 5. A shelter cat that fears touches and reacts to them with aggression. This is often related to traumatic experience in the past. The solution is patience, gradual accustoming to contact, using positive reinforcement, treats, to create positive associations with touches. In conclusion, I want to say that the relationship with a cat is always a dialogue, not a monologue. We must learn to understand the language of our pets, respect their boundaries and needs. Only in this way can we build harmonious relationships based on mutual trust and respect. Remember that each cat is unique, with its own character, preferences, and history. What works for one cat may not suit another. Observe your pet, learn to understand its signals, and over time you'll find the perfect way of interaction that will bring pleasure to both of you. Interesting fact. Research shows that cats are capable of forming real attachment to their owners, comparable to the attachment of children to parents. They really do love us, just express this love in their own way, in cat language, and our task is to learn to understand this language. Now let's summarize. We found out that cats can bite during petting for various reasons. Due to an excess of tactile stimulation, due to touching sensitive zones, due to overexcitement, due to pain or discomfort, due to fear based on past experience, due to our misunderstanding of their communication signals, due to play behavior, to attract attention, due to hormonal changes, due to stress and anxiety. We've learned to recognize warning signals that a cat gives before biting. Changes in the position of ears and tail, body tension, pupil dilation, changes in vocalization and breathing, hand licking, grasping the hand with paws, freezing, and fixing the gaze on the hand. And finally, we've learned the rules of proper interaction with a cat. Allow the cat to initiate contact. Respect its personal space. Choose the right zones for petting. Monitor the duration of caresses. Control the pressure. Consider the mood and state of the cat. Teach children the proper way to handle the animal. Don't punish for bites. Enrich the living environment. Consult with a veterinarian when necessary. By following these recommendations, you can significantly improve mutual understanding with your furry friend and make your communication more pleasant and safe for both. Remember that a cat is not just a domestic pet, it's a companion with its own personality, needs, and way of communication. By learning to respect and understand these features, you'll open up the amazing world of cat psychology for yourself and be able to enjoy truly harmonious relationships with your four-legged friend. We hope that this information was useful and interesting for you. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. In future episodes, we'll continue to explore interesting aspects of our furry friends' behavior and share useful tips on caring for them. Until next time in the world of feline mysteries and enigmas.